Hello friends, my name is Behroz and welcome to my channel. Today's video is a recorded podcast with Hira, who is the founder and CEO of All Things HR. She has over 18 years of HR leadership and consulting experience across the Middle East, Pakistan, and Asia, and she has led transformation, talent, and organizational design projects across multiple industries. So the reason today I call her is to talk about networking. You must have heard that network is your net worth. So what we want to understand from her is what is the importance of networking. So she talks about that. And second, how to go about networking either within the organization or outside the organization that you are working in. Now, in case you find any value from this video, I have one ask of you, which is please press the like button. And more importantly, if not done already, so please subscribe to the channel as well, because on this channel, I post content pertaining to how you can achieve success in your career. If this topic is of interest to you, this channel is right for you. Now, without further wait, let's get rolling into the podcast. Hira, thanks for joining and thanks for agreeing to come up and share with us some of your amazing knowledge and experiences that you've had as an HR professional. But before I start asking my questions pertaining to the topic that we are connecting today, would love to hear a quick introduction from you, especially for the folks who don't know you. So how about you introduce yourself first? Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Barrows, for having me, on your podcast channel. I think it's an honor to be here because I've seen all the lovely shows you've had previously and all the amazing speakers you've had here before. A very quick introduction about myself. I'm Hira Fareed. I'm founder and CEO for All Things HR. That's basically my passion project and my brainchild, ever since I stepped into the HR journey. I've had previous experience and exposure in leading HR for multiple organizations, from the likes of Engro, ICI, formerly known as LCI, Pakistan, Daraz, and a few other organizations. And I'm very happy to be here today.
Thank you, Hira. So great. Now let's jump into the topic that I want to talk about, and it's primarily related to networking, or call it mentoring, or finding that coach inside or outside your organization. I've Throughout my career, I was advised on being more proactive with networking. I do the same as well. I truly believe in the phrase that your network is your net worth, but it's easier said than done, which is how to network within the organization and outside. And this is something that I want to peel more today and understand from you how to go about networking. But before we go into the ways of networking, I would like to understand why networking is important, be it inside the organization or outside the organization.
Right. So I think that's a very, very, relevant topic, that we're about to get into, primarily because in today's day and age, when we have so many digital platforms, access to information is so fluid and dynamic for everyone. Networking is something which is very crucial in terms of, providing you access to new ideas, opportunities, and of course, giving you the support systems. Inside your organization, of course, it fosters collaboration, career growth. Outside, it expands your industry knowledge and open doors to mentorship or new ventures. When you're sort of within an organization, I, feel that, if you're part of a certain function, let's say, you're in HR or you're in marketing, gone are the days when you would not know what's happening beyond your function, right? So it's very crucial to connect with your cross-functional stakeholders, with your cross-functional leaders, understand and obviously have a maybe personal connect with them, because it kind of makes things easier, makes work life easier as well. Because a lot of the times it happens that you're trying to complete a project and an assignment, and if you have that personal relationship, you just pick up the phone, call up the person, ask the detail, get the relevant information, and it gets done. And you don't have to send out 300 emails and expect everyone to reply on email, right? So I think that's one of the biggest advantages which I've leveraged, all through my career journey, and it really helps. Like I said, outside the organization, networking definitely helps a lot. And these days we have these great platforms within Pakistan and internationally, of course, as well. There are so many platforms where you get an opportunity to connect and mingle with HR folks, or maybe folks from your community or your industry. There are lots of conferences like the FE Awards, which allow all the marketing people to come together, all the sort of brand people to come together. Similarly, like relatable conferences like PSTD, which is Pakistan Society for Training and Development. It kind of like gels in people from different HR teams and teams from different organizations to come together and connect with each other. And at the end of the day, what does it help you with? It helps you keep a tab on what's happening in different industries, what's happening in different markets, what is it that new organizations are working on, and so on.
Got it. Makes sense. So let's talk about the first one, which is internal networking. Now, I understand your point, which is it makes the work process easy just because if you have connections, if you know people, if you've connected with them, networked with them, work becomes more smooth. But then I also have been told, and I also preach as well, which is it is also good for your career growth, and it also helps you set an image, sell yourself as well if you network. There were multiple times when I was told, hey, you need to have coffee chats or lunches with these senior leaders and connect with them. And there was a point in time when I would just say, my work should speak for itself. Like, I'm doing great work. Why do I need to go and do this all dog and pony show with senior leaders and all? And they would refer it as networking. So I would like to understand why that part is so important. Why can't my work just speak for itself?
Absolutely. Well, at the same time, while there's no denial that work has to speak for itself, of course, maybe that's the baseline. For your professional reputation, or maybe your performance standard as an individual. But really, I think that's interesting because if I link it back to how the HR systems and the HR performance dialogues and conversations work, it is primarily not just the feedback or the assessment of a particular individual who's managing you, let's say, right, in terms of your work assessment. It's also the image, the perception, the sort of the understanding of your strengths and your weaknesses of so many other stakeholders that you connect with. And I think that's, in today's day and age, it's applicable to everyone working at like an assistant manager level and above. So basically, all middle managers have to have those cross-functional leaders connect with them, so that they can obviously have a positive reputation, positive impression, about their work performance and their competence as well. Right. And, if I talk about one of these, assignments that we've worked with, we were helping one of these organizations, which is by the name of Indus Motors. They've just had the same performance dialogue, and a lot of their key leaders were constantly, upset about the fact that, one of our high potentials, if they're able to justify or prove during the performance year how they've worked through and through. So, that person should, again, just be rated on the work that's delivered. But that's not how life is. It's not that easy, right? So you have to obviously build those extensive relationships beyond those, sort of functional boundaries, hop ahead a bit, make those connections, because as you grow up the hierarchy in any organization, your main job or your main sort of, leadership competence is also in terms of your connectivity or your ability to sort of connect and communicate with senior stakeholders. And I think that's where all of this kind of connects, or is eventually integrated into, and which is why networking and constantly sort of being out there is very crucial.
Got it. Makes sense. Can you give me an example of how did, for you or maybe someone else the external networking helped them? Because I would be wondering, I have a career in this particular company, I want to grow in this company. How would having a network outside my current company? Now, I understand if I network with seniors and leaders in my company, maybe they have an influence on my career, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
How does networking outside even help?
So networking outside is as critical, as quintessential as networking within the organization. One of the main reasons is even if you're not looking out, right? Because most of the people, especially, if you're planning a move, you want to sort of stay connected in the market, not just like in terms of insights or intellect, in terms of like, what's happening in the competitor markets or competitor functions, but in order to sort of, maybe plan your move or like, get that traction or get that sort of, receive that kind of like, limelight from the market. So, you want to stay connected, have other industry leaders also know you and see you maybe as a thought leader for the function where you belong, right? So this is very critical because unless and until people from outside outside in the market don't know who you are, eventually I feel that you're living in a bubble of your own within your company, and you're not able to sort of leverage the flow of information. You're not able to cross pollinate great ideas from your own function itself, and which is why I feel that connecting with people outside the organization is really, really critical.
Okay, makes sense. Get it. Now, let's talk about how to go about networking, because I understand the importance of networking. And the biggest challenge I've found for myself is I'm an introvert. So it's very hard for me to start conversations in a family gathering, let alone just going up to someone and trying to network with them. What do I say? Hi, I'm here to network. Hi, this is me. I just want to introduce myself. So, how do you really, and maybe let me take a step back. How do you pick who to network with first, especially when it comes to your career development? And once you've chosen what kind of profile, what kind of individual you need to network with, how do you go about approaching them? And then eventually maintaining that relationship as well. So, three things: who, how, and how do you kind of maintain the relationship?
Right. So Barrows, it happened so that, during my early career days, we set up and we launched a mentorship program. And I was very lucky because, I was leading that. And, it happened so that there were so many people from the high potential pool who were eventually mapped out to reach out to certain mentors within and outside the organization and, approach them and look for like, career advice and look for, advice on different other professional sort of, aspects. Now, usually people in HR, they're like, they love being around people. It's easy for them to sort of, connect and like, go out and approach and speak to people. And I feel that generally HR has a strong edge in the market also, because when anyone from HR approaches like an individual, they generally feel happy that, maybe it's a new opportunity that I'm being approached for. And so it's easier for people in certain functions to connect and be seen as like network plugs in the market. But for other functions, and especially like you mentioned, people having a certain personality trait, it's definitely like gets a bit challenging, especially if you're like on the introvert side. You're not like somebody who would initiate a conversation. So just hashing out, maybe like you said, like how do you go about doing it? My quick tip to people who find it very difficult to approach or like be the first one to go out and reach out, whether it's through LinkedIn or through other professional platforms, is to maybe make a small chart or map out people in the most sort of draw out a chart of people that who would be influencing or like who would be taking care of like your career and like mapping out like relevant sort of individuals from maybe from within the organization, externally, and then draw out certain maps, chalk out 3 to 4 people, because generally when you talk about mentorship, coaching, you can't really sort of maintain those relationships if there are too many in quantity, right? It has to be quality over quantity. It has less is more. And even when you're sort of talking as an introvert, it's okay if you speak less, but if you speak quality, that's definitely like valuable, and people realize that this person is making a lot of sense, and therefore the entire equation flows from there on. Even like choosing people to complement your personality trait. Maybe if you're an introvert, I would maybe look at speaking with someone who's more sociable, who's more sort of, on the talkative side, right? So matching out these personality traits kind of helps. Because if I'm an introvert and I go and bump into someone who is maybe not that welcoming, or maybe, in terms of the facial expression, if you find someone to be like a bit stern or cold, you would not be comfortable starting off anyways. So this is one thing, and the second question that I believe you had was on how do you do it, and sort of what should your approach look like, and what should be like the initial conversation. Sometimes it's also good given how many platforms are there nowadays, right? So online is also a great idea. Maybe writing a small note, keeping it digital, using AI maybe to sort of improvise on your words or use professional sort of language kind of helps. Sending out an email note, using different sort of, search engines to look for emails, that's something that's been very widely used. But of course, if you're in a one-on-one chat conversation with someone you've really wanted to speak to, or if you feel that person is going to heavily influence you, maybe going out and approaching with a very sort of professional tone, and requesting for a coaching conversation, or requesting the individual to be a coach or offer some kind of a coaching advice is something that is also very plausible in this regard.
Got it. Thank you. Makes sense, Hira. Hira, this was helpful. I know you also have a consultancy business as well, and you consult on HR matters, HR services as well. So, would be nice if you can quickly elaborate on that part as well. I don't have more questions on networking, but would love to understand what kind of services are there that you provide, because at some point in time would love to bring you back and talk about one of those services as well.
Right, right. Thank you so much, and really appreciate the fact that you've had a chance to look at my website, and you've had a chance to look at my page. While I'm an early budding sort of entrepreneur in this field, and I'm still in the process of setting up my business. This is something which is again like very close to my heart, and I'm really adding value through all the assignments and the previous projects that we've been working on with our clients. So a bit about our services. We're here to add value in terms of placement services. So we're offering recruitment as one of our services as well, in placing high potential talent, connecting and matching top talent with the sort of organizations who are looking for right people for the right roles. Similarly, we also do bespoke consulting for very customized needs and programs around organization design and development. So a lot of talent management strategies, mapping out critical roles, looking at your succession frameworks, designing high potentials program, and creating a development plan for all the high potentials in the organization is something that we have expertise on. And last but not the least, we're also carrying out rewards and salary structure surveys across different industries. We've done a few, and we're looking forward to sort of gear up more and double down in this aspect.
Thank you, Hira. This is great. This is great work. And again, as I said, probably I'll be calling you again to learn more about one of those services that you offer. I have a lot of audience which are small business owners, and would love to understand more from you how to set up the HR structure, the HR processes, or if nothing else, at least the hiring process, which is kind of very crucial to anyone as they're starting before they start to expand more. So thank you for joining in, and thank you for sharing these wonderful tips and sharing these wonderful advice with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.